Baker Mayfield not rolling out the red carpet to welcome his former coach Kevin Stefanski to the NFC South. Baker responding to a tweet saying that he failed in Cleveland. Here was his response. Failed is quite the reach there, pal. Great use of the word pal. Still waiting on a text/call from him, Stefanski, after I got shipped off like a piece of garbage.
Wow.
Can't wait to see you twice a year, Coach. Coach, your reaction.
I saw it's like Baker being Baker, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is, and I don't love it.
You don't love Baker's response?
Well, look, I don't.
Coach, you did it wrong. You're supposed to be like, I don't like it. I loved it because it was awesome.
I find it hard to believe that Kevin was solely responsible for shipping Baker off, just like he was not solely responsible for getting Deshaun, and he probably wasn't solely responsible for getting Shador, or Johnny Manziel was before him. I'm sure he wasn't responsible for that either in Cleveland. So that's to put it all on Kevin, I think is unfair. However, I would imagine Kevin probably would have rather have texted him in retrospect or called him. Sometimes you go through a learning curve with events like that where you could have handled it a lot better. And I think Joe Thomas came out today and said, and kind of presented the other side of it, to where Baker could have also reached out to Kevin and said the same, kept the communication going. So
yeah, but I have a ton of respect for Joe Thomas.
I didn't write the article or interview the guy. I'm just telling you what he said.
Yeah, no, Joe Thomas said phones work two ways, but this wasn't a mutual parting of ways.
Right.
This was one guy got your, and listen.
Joe was his teammate and an All-Pro.
Listen,
Coach, you got shipped off like a piece of garbage.
It's the NFL. Get over it. We all get shipped off like
he has to call him, doesn't he? You got to call him.
Well, it's surprising that there wasn't communication. That really is surprising that they didn't communicate in that time period.
I mean, because look, I don't know what their relationship was like. It was probably frosty, but
doesn't sound like it was great.
Right. I doubt, though, it was terrible, because Baker, I don't think he'd still be upset, or the first thing he says is the call. He seems like he was expecting a call, and if Stefanski just clearly hated him and didn't like him, he probably wouldn't have expected a call. So I like Stefanski, but you just have to call a guy in that situation. I also think, look, Baker wasn't really bad in Cleveland. I mean, they've had one playoff win since they went back in 1999, and he got it, and his best years weren't really under Stefanski. But still,
if they kept him, they probably would have been in the mix every year in the playoffs.
Absolutely. So I think Baker, look, it'll be great theater next year when they're playing all the time. But I agree with you. That was a mistake, bottom line, by the Cleveland Browns. Huge mistake.
So I totally agree with you, Coach, in that a lot of things that happen with the Browns, we have an idea, or I'm going to speak for myself here, not you. The owner's meddling and screws things up, and then the GM and head coach in varying ways have to eat it and take it. Okay. And I think that has made that job a very difficult job for a very long time. I think that can be true. And that's why this graphic of Baker, of the quarterback since the Browns, that you can be an offensive mastermind head coach, oversee that, and still be unemployed for 3 weeks before you get your next head coaching job, because people don't put that on Stefanski. And I think that they're like, the owner wanted Deshaun Watson, the owner wanted this stuff, you made the most of it you could. That part's fair. The things that you certainly can put on Kevin Stefanski are what I consider some of the softer touches that I have seen from afar. I think in his next job he needs to be better at. Yeah. I didn't think it was slight at Shador specifically when he didn't give him a game ball after his first career win, because he also didn't do it for Dylan Gabriel. But the answer to that is probably, if you got a rookie quarterback who's a mid-round pick, whether it's Gabriel or Shador, build him up a little bit. Some of the press conference stuff. And this, nobody likes having to make these types of phone calls. Nobody likes if someone
It's a text.
Whatever it is. No, but my point is, but part of being a leader and an adult is calling and being on the receiving end of somebody's anger or whatever it is and letting them vent. And so that's areas that I think is fair criticism.
Can I just also say, like, as you go into this job, there's no like manual on how to do it. And so you make a lot of mistakes. And as an executive making a lot of mistakes, that happens all across the country all the time, but it's not being analyzed, constantly 24 hours a day. So, yeah, look, I've made a ton of mistakes in relationships that I wish I could have back, but that's part of the learning curve, and I'm sure this is one that Kevin would have liked to have back.
Before we go, Coach, I'll ask you. Baker says he is still waiting on the text. If you were Kevin Stefanski, would you text Baker today?
I don't know, because Baker will probably put it on Twitter the second I text him. Like, if I could have I would.
Just an emoji.
Look, I would not want that to be the way the relationship.
But also
it should be a call too.
No.
The other story is chip on his shoulder, Baker officially back.
Mike McDaniel eyeing the Chargers offensive coordinator job. If he doesn't land a head coaching job, we think the Ravens are still in play. If he doesn't get it, he's going to go to L.A. What do you, Nick? You don't love this?
No, I like Mike McDaniel, but if the question is, what you were supposed to ask, what this means for Herbert?
Yeah.
Justin Herbert is obviously incredibly physically gifted. He has good pedigree, he has good size, he has amazing arm talent, all of those things. I also think the following two statements are not opinion. They are just objective truth. Mm-hmm. Statement one, he has played his worst football in his biggest spots, most notably his 3 playoff games, the last 2, which were, for different reasons, historically bad games. And the other one, I guess, is a little opinion, but I think the numbers back it up. He does not appear to have improved, and in fact, he might have gone a little bit in the other direction since his second year. So much of Justin Herbert is this guaranteed superstar is based on his first year, he set the record for touchdown passes as a rookie, and his second year threw for 5,000 yards. It's like, oh my God. And those first 2 years, he averages 4,600 yards, 7.5 yards per attempt, an almost 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, which again, the touchdown interception ratio now is still 3-to-1, but higher volume, obviously, and a better rating. And then in the 4 years since then, the volume has gone down and the efficiency hasn't gone up. Usually, if we're going to cut the volume, we're going to become hyper efficient. That hasn't happened. And so he now gets another offensive coordinator, and this one, Brew, everybody thinks is an offensive genius. Head coach, mixed results. But you are running, if it looks the way it has looked every year of Herbert's career, flashes of brilliance ending in massive disappointment, you're running out of people to blame, is my reaction.
Well, I was going to say, I wrote down no more excuses.
Sure.
All right, for Justin Herbert. First, it was Brandon Staley.
No, first it was Anthony Lynn.
Anthony
Lynn got fired.
Then Brandon Staley with some crazy, wacky moves. And then, he got fired for a reason. Yeah. And then the offensive line being all banged up. And so now...
And Greg Roman. It was Greg Roman's fault. Fire him.
Take the ball out of his hands and stuff. So now with, like you said, a guy that everybody believes in as an OC, and you still have like a great head coach. So McDaniel's not the head coach. You got a great head coach. You've got a great offensive play caller and all the talent in the world. Like 3 bad playoff games is enough, to where people are, some maybe writing him off or whatever. If and they should make the playoffs next year, and it's a 4th straight bad playoff game without any good ones under Mike McDaniel, then it'll seem like he just doesn't have it in these big moments, which is odd because in regular season big games, he plays fine. Yeah. But in the playoffs, he just is not himself. And so no more excuses. If it doesn't work with McDaniel and you're healthy, then it's like you just don't have it.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. So this will be his 5th OC in 7 years, started 7 year. And with, it's going to be interesting to see if McDaniel goes there, how that's going to fit with Harbaugh. What system are they going to run? Is there going to be a fusion? Is there going to be a learning curve? So that dynamic's got to play out. And the 6 years that Herbert's played, he's had double-digit interceptions. And one of the 2 years where he didn't, he missed 4 games. He had 7 picks that year, so he could have had 10 interceptions or double-digit again that year. And when you look at the OC, so maybe Greg Roman was the problem, but Greg Roman with Jim Harbaugh went to the Super Bowl and went to another NFC Championship game, and that was with Kaepernick. So I don't know if you feel that Justin Herbert is more talented, less, well, however you feel, but that's something that he achieved with Jim Harbaugh. So typically, quarterbacks like this, and we talked about this with Stafford, they get offensive coordinators to leave the team, but it's because they're getting head coaching jobs. He's not getting fired. And he's gotten so many people fired that at some point it's like, maybe it's you. Maybe it's you.
Are you surprised that Jim Harbaugh picked Mike McDaniel as his offensive coordinator?
I think the meeting room's going to be fun, with those two guys. There's going to be a lot of creativity between them. I mean, Jim has only had Greg Roman, so this is his first OC in pro football. Right. Greg was his OC the whole time he was with the 49ers, so it's going to be really interesting to see how that dynamic unfolds.
So that's just real quick on this. So that's what I find. Nobody has been a bigger supporter of Justin Herbert than Jim Harbaugh. But I think it's fair to say, and you obviously worked with Jim, Jim had a very close relationship with Greg Roman. You know what I mean? Worked in the two places. And it felt to me like, I don't think anybody thought going into that playoff game, man, Greg Roman's done a terrible job this year. I didn't feel that way. It felt to me like that playoff game was so bad and Herbert's performance was so bad that somebody had to fall by the wayside because of it. And Harbaugh picks Roman. I do wonder what that does to the Harbaugh-Herbert bond. That's like, man, this has been my guy forever. I ended up firing him because what our offense looked like, and now what that I'm interested in that. Because last year after their playoff loss, Harbaugh said, our whole job is to get up to the level of Justin Herbert, even though he threw 4 picks. This year it felt a little different.
Patriots have never won a playoff game in Denver. Drake Maye saying, I haven't played in Denver in the playoffs yet. That doesn't have anything to do with me. Coach, you expect Drake to struggle in his first road playoff game?
Yeah, well, let me just put some things out there. So you got the noise, and that's one element. You got the silent count. And then with Denver's defense, so they're number 1 in the league in sacks. We've talked about that before. They're also number 1 in the league in knockdown percentage. So what that means is the throw got off, but they knocked the quarterback down. So they're number 1 in that. Then they're also number 1 in hurries. That means that either the quarterback had to throw it quick or he had to escape from the pocket. So combined, all those 3 things combined, that's 30% of the plays the quarterback is either getting knocked down, sacked, or hurried over the course of the season, which is a problem. Then you add to that the fact that they pressure 28% of the time. So they bring some kind of blitz 28% of the time, which is the 6th highest in the league. Now, all those things can be really problematic, especially for a guy who's being sacked at double the rate in the postseason that he was sacked in the regular season. You add noise, so it's harder for the offensive line to communicate. Yeah, I think there's going to be real challenges for him in this environment. Now, the great news, Wilds, is how he's dealt with pressure. And if we could bring this up, because I was interested to see how well he's responded to when they bring blitzes. And you can see in the regular season, he was at 129.2.
Oh, against
he's
the
gotten
blitz.
better. Yeah, this is truly against the blitz, so which is going to be about 30% of the time that Denver brings it if they stay. So yeah, so he's been outstanding against the blitz, which is what is the most encouraging thing to me about Drake Maye and Josh McDaniels going into this game against what they're probably going to see.
Yeah, look, I think he's going to have some bad moments because he's playing a great defense. And like you said, Coach, he's going to be under pressure. I don't think it's going to have much to do with the road. I just think you're facing, this team that gets the pressure on you so much that he'll struggle. But the thing I like about Drake Maye and the thing he's shown in these playoffs is he's countered his bad plays with spectacular plays, some deep throws, and he's one of the best deep throwers in the league. So I expect him to have overall a good game. He might probably have a turnover, whether it's a fumble, whether it's an interception or whatever. But I'm saying he's going to have 2 touchdowns and a solid game. And I actually think, look, he faced Houston, which was obviously a great defense last week. I kind of think that's prepared him for this week to some degree, just because you know you're facing another good defense. You just beat one, and now you got to face another. And I also think, and Nick,
This team does get to the
more
harasses the quarterback 10% more than Houston did over the course of the season.
Yeah. So it's a little better in that regard. And I'm not trying to channel Wilds, but I think him having gone through all these turnovers in these first 2 games,
At least drops too. Yeah.
it can just make him relax him. Like, look, I've done that. We've won. I've gotten criticized for it. I'm fine. And I think he'll be a little looser than maybe he was in his first 2 playoff games, or at least his first one.
So I think if Drake Maye is the most important player on the Patriots this weekend, I think number 2 with a bullet is Will Campbell. And I think where home field advantage can truly matter, and Coach, tell me if I'm out of school on this, is if the Patriots have to go to a silent count, what that means for the get-off on the pass rush for Denver versus how quickly Will Campbell's able to get in his pass block set, that difference, I mean, the difference between a quick pressure strip sack and a guy holding up. And I think that is the biggest element, other than a dome team playing, in the snow. The biggest advantage, in my experience watching playoff football, of being at home is it's not just the crowd noise making it, there might be miscommunications. It's how much that helps the defensive pass rush versus the offensive pass set. And that would be my concern. That would be my concern, because I do think I think Will Campbell has struggled this postseason. Maybe it's because he's coming off an injury. Maybe it's because who they're going up against. But having Nick Panito and Jonathan Cooper coming off each edge, that would concern me greatly.
Yeah, so they're 100% going to have to use a silent count. And that stadium is ridiculously loud. And Seattle's loud. This place is ridiculously loud too. And it's not just that the silent count part of it, but it's getting the plays from the sideline, hearing those, then communicating it in the huddle. Oftentimes that leads to getting out later in the huddle, which means that the play clock gets lower, and then defenders know as the play clock goes down, the ball's got to be snapped. There's not a lot of things you can do. Now, maybe they go no huddle or something like that to try to, get them up to the line of scrimmage and force Denver to declare what they're doing.
Not going to struggle.
Why?
Because he's undefeated on the road. He's best against the blitz, and I don't know if he's best against the blitz, but he's fantastic against the blitz, and he's got the most yards per pass when under pressure since 2018. So his bad games are other guys' great games. I don't think he played well against the Texans at all. He threw 3 touchdowns. And I don't think he played well against the Chargers at all. He threw for 270 yards, and we won by double digits. It's just
KW,
might not play well.
There's no quarterback in the league who his game against the Chargers or Texans would have been a great game for them. Nobody.
3 touchdowns against the Chargers?
You can't.
Excuse me, against the Texans?
That's not the entirety of his game. There's no quarterback in the league that game would have, no good quarterback, who's that game against had great moments, but there's no quarterback in the league that has 4 fumbles, 2 lost, and a pick, and when the pick is unlucky, that's fine, but the 2 fumble recoveries are lucky, and that's a great game. And sacked 5 times. That's not a great game.
His struggles are other QB's good games. How about that? Will you take that?
Throughout the regular season, yes. Throughout the playoffs, I don't think that's been the case. I don't think those were good games.
I think
someone else should throw for 3 touchdowns against the Texans.
I think he had good games.
The Texans were an unbelievable defense that I think had won 8 games in a row.
He was under major duress.
Nobody could beat them. Drake Maye came in and threw 3 touchdowns on them. I dropped the ball a few times.
C.J. Stroud looked like
C.J. Stroud, but we didn't score any point out. Drake Maye did not take any of those turnovers and turn them into points.
No, but the point that I think one of the reasons more veteran quarterbacks didn't have 3 touchdown games against the Texans was because they had the wherewithal to not hold on to the ball and they're like, you know what? Hunting this play might end up with the ball on the ground.
How'd that work out for them?
I understand they won the game, and the Patriots. The fact that Drake, in my opinion, Drake Maye has not played well yet this postseason, and they've won both games by double digits, speaks to how great the team has played. But in my opinion, presenting these two games as good or great games, I think it's not what I saw.
I said his bad game.
Would be someone else's good or great games. I disagree.
And I think this could be another opportunity for New England's defense to prove that they're just not a sideshow here. They've been playing pretty well.
They've been playing very well.
Excellent. Bills owner Terry Pagula met with the media.
You have to go there.
Yeah,
Lots of highlights or lowlights.
Nice for a little.
I got 3 of them before we listen to some sound. Number 1, he fired Sean McDermott because they had hit a ceiling. Classic 2.
Yeah.
Number 2, he insinuated that drafting Keon Coleman was a mistake. Keon is still on the team. Number 3, that mistake was not Brandon Beane's fault. It was the coaching staff's fault, who he had previously fired. Take a listen.
I felt like we hit the proverbial playoff wall year after year. 13 seconds, missed field goals, the catch. I'll address the Keon situation. The coaching staff pushed to draft Keon. I'm not saying Brandon wouldn't have drafted him, but he wasn't his next choice. That was Brandon being a team player and taking advice of his coaching staff.
Your reaction to this press conference?
A bunch, so I'll just very quickly. He also said that he decided to fire him because they lost the game.
Yeah. Also, that was a catch.
And then, but also he said they lost the game because of the refs. And so if you're Sean McDermott, and listen, Brandon Beane was very adamant and talked about his wife being emotional about people saying, that he stabbed anyone in the back and questioning his character. I'd be upset about that too. What's also true is someone had to tell the owner, that's not my pick, that was McDermott's. And so like him saying, the Pagula being like, hey, just so everybody knows, Sean never wanted the player who, again, is on your team at a position you don't have a lot of guys at. I agreed with Danny yesterday, Brew, that this was the best job opening. This press conference weakened that.
Mind?
Well, yeah, because it's not like I thought this and the Ravens is close
right,
enough.
you saw Broussard.
And Broussard is out there like just wheeling and dealing, and it feels like they know what's going on. I didn't like this. And it's not because I loved it. I just didn't like it.
No, look, I will give him this. He said we hit the proverbial wall year after year in the playoffs. And whether we all think Sean McDermott's a good coach, nobody thinks he's not a very good coach. But that's true. For various reasons, they did hit that wall. And even though, look, we kind of removed the Chiefs. They shouldn't have lost to the Bengals that year, 27-10. They shouldn't have just lost to Denver. But let's even look at the Chiefs. The owner is saying, we beat them 4 times in the regular season. Why can't we do it in the playoffs? Maybe it's because our defense, which is generally either top 5 or top 12 or something like that, gives up 33 points a game in the playoffs, or at least in our last 6 playoff losses. So I thought that part was legitimate. I was fine with the firing of McDermott. My only issue is keeping Beane because he's, you said it yesterday, Coach, 56, I think, draft picks, and he's got 2 Pro Bowlers since then. And he came in right after McDermott. So they were kind of a team. They came in the same year. And so why'd you keep one? It clearly, there's no question, when you look at the reporting, even when you watch this press conference, that the GM played the political game. And he got in with the owner, and McDermott wasn't. And that's really what this came down to.
I love when owners do press conferences. It's the best.
I knew it.
It is seriously, it's the best because
It shows what you gotta do.
you get a window into kind of conversations that happen on a regular basis and things that you have to navigate through as you're trying to push things forward in a very sort of organized, structured way. And and some of the challenges that can present, and some of the communication gaps that can exist between ownership and coaches. And when you look at this, when Sean came in, I don't know if it was a 15-year drought or an 18-year drought.
18.
It's something like that. And then suddenly they go to the playoffs and they win the division. And then when this ownership group took over the Buffalo Sabres, there's a lot of celebration, the hockey team, and people were excited about it. And I think subsequently now there's a 13-year playoff drought. They fired 5 head coaches and 4 GMs. So maybe let the guys that, that was doing a pretty good job continue to do a good job, and maybe not make an emotional decision in a moment where it's going to affect the trajectory of a franchise for years to come when you've got an MVP caliber player, and take a step back and let things, the emotion come out of it, and make a more informed decision. And then I just say with Broussard, you got a good look at him. He's going to hold people accountable. He does. Every week he meets with guys, he holds them accountable, but he's not there every day.
Right.
That's not his thing.
But the other thing, again, if you believe what he said, that they made the decision when he walked in the locker room and saw the devastation.
Well, it's what you said the other day.
Well, if you believe exactly what he said,
and again,
it came out of his mouth.
If you believe it,
I believe it.
yeah, it does speak to, and I was trying to, give me 20 seconds here, Dust. I was not trying to be like I'm a talk show host who wears makeup. I'm not saying that like more
highlights.
manly, than professional football players. So I wasn't like trying to like be like alpha male, you shouldn't cry. Right. The reason I focused on the crying part was it was an outward signal that team might be, at least in the moment, broken. And the owner is saying he saw that and felt like we have to make a major change to get over this loss.
Brutal.
That's what the owner's saying.
I think if they were in the locker room laughing, that team would be broken.
Well,
the fact that they're crying, to me, shows they actually might have really
But if they were
cared.
locked in, if they're like, man, if people weren't crying.
There's a gap between laughing and crying.
Well, I just think when you fumble the ball away with 16 seconds left, and you make other bad decisions, and you miss wide open throws, and you're supposed to be Superman, yeah, it probably really hurts to the point where you're like, I disappointed a lot of people and sending a lot of people on their way.
If you're calling it the catch, which means you thought that you caught the ball, you thought you had done enough to win, and the coach had coached well enough to win, and the refs screwed you over, why does the coach get fired?
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.